Welcome everyone. We're here at the Ocean City Welcome Center. We've had the pleasure of Congressman Van Drew joining us today, as well as Council President Bob Barr. I'd like our audience to know that we have taken precautions here. We've measured our distances and we are trying to be extra cautious relative to the COVID crisis. We all have masks. Should we need them, we will put them on. But we're here to talk about the election right now, going on right now, and just get some insight from the Congressman. Relative to the stimulus package that is hopefully forthcoming, can you talk to us a little bit about what you feel that means to the businesses in South Jersey and how you are representing us in that regard?
It's important. We need one more tranche. We need one more time where we can help people, where we can help businesses, where we can make sure this economy survives. And I think it's shameful, quite frankly, what's been going on in Congress, because there's been a lot of political gamesmanship. So there are some bills that are basically good dealing with the stimulus, and I have to be really, just honest here, and I have to be really candid and say that the Speaker has thrown in other pieces to it which are just entirely unacceptable to most Americans, to most of Congress, and certainly to most of Ocean City and the leadership in Ocean City. So, you have a good bill where you can have the $1,200 incentive, where you can have more PPP, more PPE, where you can do more to help with vaccinations, do more to help with education, more to help with medications and the different things that can be done to really stem this disease. All of that's good and more, and I support all of that, and I want all of that, including even help with unemployment. The problem is the Speaker also puts in there things like cities that are, going to be open to illegal, undocumented citizens, which are called sanctuary cities or sanctuary states, sanctuary counties. That's got nothing to do with this. She puts in the new Green Deal in there. That's going to be bad for Ocean City. It's going to be bad for South Jersey. That's got nothing to do with what we want to do here. Unbelievably so, in that bill was put in the desire of the writers of the bill to allow federal prisoners to be released even if they were violent criminals, including murderers and rapists and dangerous people. This is unbelievable. So how could you vote for a bill even though it has those good things in when you put the bad things in like that? And there are other things in there that just good, hard-working Americans wouldn't accept. So obviously many people didn't vote for the bill. That's the wrong way to go about politics. It's the wrong way to go about government. It's the wrong way to write a bill. It's to try to trick somebody into voting no because there's some bad things in there, and then saying, well, they didn't vote for the stimulus. No, they didn't vote to release criminals who are going to be dangerous and kill people. Case in Virginia, they did just that. They released some criminals. The first one that got out, the first thing that he did is he went and he murdered his accuser. That's not the America we know. There's no need to do that. Let's just do the good things that we all agree on. And you know what's crazy? About 90% of it we all do agree on. So that's my hope. I want to be in Washington to get this done. I love being home, but quite frankly, they keep sending us back home and not getting the job done. That's unacceptable, and that's got to change.
I appreciate that. And that's it's a shame that the gamesmanship is at that level when it's such a critical time for our community.
It is, and I can show you in the bills. It's unbelievable.
You talk about wanting to make a stronger America. Within Stronger America, I envision multiple things. In particular, the big topic of the day about defunding the police. What are your thoughts on that, and how would you handle that type of?
Thank you for that question. So, a stronger America means that we are going to fulfill the obligation that we have to our people, to this great country. This is an amazing place. And the fact that we would defund our police, sure, there can be a bad police officer. I'm a dentist by profession. There can be a bad dentist, there can be a bad doctor, there can be a bad anything. But the majority of police officers, I stand with them. Let me be really clear. I stand with our police, period, because the majority of them are willing to prevent bad things, in very simple English, from happening to us. I even remember when I spoke at the convention and I left, and there were some really very difficult, very violent, very unsavory people there, spitting, throwing things, trying to hurt people who never did anything to them. You know who had to go and stand in front and take the spit, and take the rocks, and take the debris, and take the phasers and all that were done? It was the police. It was the police who had to do that. They put their life on the line every day. The answer isn't to defund the police. The answer is to have more help for them with community services so that the police can even have a better relationship with the community in which they serve. Ocean City's great that way, when they really do have a good relationship. We want to do more in places like Atlantic City. When I go to Atlantic City and I speak to black people, white people, Asian people, Bangladeshi people, you know what they all say to me? We need more police. We need more protection. So whose idea this is thinks it's a good idea to have no safety in the country, just to let anybody do whatever they want, is a crazy idea. So when I talk about a strong America, I do talk about that, but I also speak about a strong military. And I speak about strong energy. We should be number one in energy around the world. You know what America is? It's a number one country. It's the country that Ronald Reagan talked about being the shining city on the hill, that beacon of light that everyone can really follow and really sends out goodness and safety. That's what America can be. So we should be strong with our environment, strong with our education, strong with our supply chain. Let me tell you about this. Never, I hope so much next year when we start a new session and everything is moving forward, that we aren't going back to China, communist China, and asking them for PPE, asking them for supplies, asking them for manufactured goods, because we're not producing it ourselves. That is shameful and just inappropriate. So here, quite frankly, China sent us a disease and wouldn't allow us to get all the information on it, wouldn't allow the CDC in. The World Health Organization didn't tell the truth. Thank God the president actually put, created a line where it said literally we're going to put travel restrictions in, both there in China and then later in Europe. And he was called a xenophobe, and he was called somebody that was racist. No, he was just trying to save the country. Thank God he did it. As bad as it is, and as much as it changed our lifestyle, look what we have to go through today even. We had to make sure we measured out that you're so many feet away from me so that we have social distancing if we didn't want to wear masks. It's changed our complete lifestyle, and it truthfully did come from China. That doesn't mean that we hate Chinese people, but their government, the communist government, is a different story, and it's a serious business, and it's something that we have to deal in and look in. We need our own supply chain. We need our own intellectual property. We need to make sure it is not stolen from other countries, including China. That is of extreme importance. So it means a strong America, a strong environment, strong education, strong military, strong in manufacturing, strong in every way. I love this country, and we need to be on top of our game and not down. You know, let me tell you a story just for a minute, and I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, but I was speaking one time to a group of people, and they were mostly from the other side of the political aisle, and I talked about American exceptionalism. What an amazing country this is, that everything I have, I didn't start out as a big deal. I wasn't a wealthy kid, worked really hard, became a dentist, and eventually got involved in government. And that's stories we hear all over from all types of people. This is a great place, and it is an exceptional nation. And Americanism and American exceptionalism really, truly means something, and it's something that we shouldn't lose. So I was done speaking, and some folks came up to me and said, "You're wrong." And I said, "Well, I'm wrong about a lot of things, but tell me what I'm particularly wrong about this time." And they said, "You're wrong about American exceptionalism, is that this is not an exceptional nation. There's nothing special about America. It is the same as every other nation in the world, or maybe worse. So I told them I think they really need to go on a road trip and go into North Korea and go into Iran and go into Iraq and go into China and see what choices people have there and what choices we have here. We've got to keep that American exceptionalism.
So, getting back to the topic of a stronger America, I want to know, I think our audience would like to know what your position is on sanctuary cities.
I'm opposed to them. You cannot, we are a nation of the rule of law. I love immigration. You know, almost all of us, the vast majority of immigrants of some type, we came over here. My great-grandparents came over here. It's, an again, amazing nation, and the Statue of Liberty, give me your tired, your poor. We're going to give them that chance to reach for the brass ring and do better. It does not mean that you have open borders across the country where people can come in and out, do whatever they want, don't register, don't let us know anything. That's not the way you go about it. And there's a certain number of immigrants that we can take for a certain amount of time, and we make sure that they get a proper education, and they need to learn Americanism as well. So they need to learn to pledge to the flag and believe in the flag. They need to learn what this country is about and what it stands for, and to take, you know, the test to make sure that they know that they're become part of and basically a significant part of what America is. That's what we really need. Just having people, I mean, if we're going to let certain people on the southern border come in, well, heck, we should just open the borders everywhere. That's not fair, and just let people come in and out wherever they want to. I don't think that's what Americans want. I don't think that's what recent immigrants want that did it legally. Some of the strongest statements that I've ever heard about the greatness of America has come from legal immigrants who appreciate so much what they have and the opportunity they have. They don't like the illegal. They know we're a nation of the rule of law. I don't know if people happen to catch, but it was, even if you were a Democrat or whatever you were, there was a Cuban individual at the National Republican Convention that spoke about Cuba and the way it was under communism, and spoke about the opportunities had here, and the tears literally just started streaming down his face. He was for real. He loves this country. We've got to make sure that those of us who were born here realize what a great country it is, and that we love it just as much.
Can you speak a little bit towards the topic of immigration or illegal immigration and its effect on our borders, but in particular the effect that it has on our economy and the amount of tax revenue that has to go to protecting our borders and housing these individuals
It costs a fortune. Now, in some ways, when it's a program and the United States is working hand in hand with another country and they're getting experience and then they go back, that's a different story.
Sure.
And we have that in Ocean City and Wildwood and other areas where they learn and we learn, and that's all good because it's legal and it's done properly. So it can be amazing. We don't want to wall ourselves off away from other people. It's just that we want to make sure it's done in a safe and healthy way, as far as bringing diseases over, as far as bringing drugs over. I went to the border because I really wanted to see what was going on, and it's unbelievable what you see when the trucks and the cars and everything is trying to go in at the port, and literally the amount of drugs that were inside engines, inside wheel wells, you know, inside the wheels themselves. We need that protection, and we need ICE's protection. ICE is constantly, quite frankly, given a hard time. They are dealing, and I went out where ICE was and saw the work that they have to do. First time in my life that I saw where enforcement occurred where they didn't have any backup. No backup. So you'd have one ICE, and you'd have a bunch of folks trying to get across illegally, and he had to handle the whole deal by himself. So we're actually underserved out there. We want to be safe. We want to be free, and we want other people to have the opportunity and a legal way to achieve that as well.
So again, along the lines of a stronger America, something that comes to mind for me is, it's not all about armor and things. It comes down to basic health care for
Absolutely.
individuals. What are your thoughts on pre-existing conditions? And as a secondary question to that, about this COVID has been so stressful for our communities here in the U.S. Relative to anxiety, to drug abuse, to alcoholism. Maybe as a follow-up, can you talk about what you would envision as good steps to help those folks? But first off, let's touch on the topic of pre-existing conditions.
So let me be as clear as I know how to be. I believe everybody who has pre-existing conditions should be covered. You should not be able to deny someone because they have pre-existing conditions. I want to be clear about that. And if anybody says otherwise, because they have in this campaign, they are absolutely not telling the truth, period. End of statement, that's it. So, of course, I believe almost all of us have pre-existing conditions, let's face it. And if you put a few more years on you, you're definitely going to have pre-existing conditions. So that needs to be covered. We also need to have more inclusive and better health care, and that's complicated. I believe that we should not do away with employer-sponsored health care. A lot of people like that. It's very good for some people. Those people that it works well with should keep it, and it shouldn't be taken away. At the same time, we have to have help for folks that fall in between the cracks, there's no doubt. Right now we have the ACA. Now I think we can do better than the ACA, but let me be very clear about this as well, and I've made this clear in Congress, and I've even crossed party lines to make it clear. I will not support removing the ACA, taking it away, until we have something at least as good or better there. You just can't take health care away from people. So if we're going to take the ACA away, and I think that was a mistake that Republicans made in a way, when they in the past had taken it away and didn't have an immediate and good replacement. So we've all got together on both sides of the aisle, have a replacement that's less expensive. It's very expensive and very difficult for people, and there are a lot of problems with it. Is it better than nothing? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. But certainly we have to do that. If you have no health care, then people are going to go for emergency care to the hospital, which costs an absolute fortune, hurts our hospitals and hurts our municipalities that have to pay the hospitals for the charity care that those people get. So this is one of the biggest issues, but I believe you're right. That's another way to be strong. Strong doesn't just mean a good military. It means that we need a strong military, we need a strong police force, but that's not all. Being strong is in all aspects of our society, in our government, in our lives as Americans, that we are doing the right thing.
Relative to the secondary question of COVID's effect on the addicted community, the folks, be it drugs or alcohol or even stress and anxiety, do you see any ways in which we could improve the outreach in that regard, that we could help support these folks in our communities?
I do. You are dead on, you're right. So when we isolate people, when we take people like we have done and still are doing, and we say that they've just got to stay in a room somewhere or in rooms or in their house, and that they don't get to communicate with people as much, they don't get out, they don't get to practice their profession or their job or whatever. Some people do, but other people don't. I think we didn't do nearly as good a job in New Jersey as we should have. And let me give you an example. Every other state in the union phased in opening of different types of facilities, stores, etc. So they phased in opening gyms. They phased in opening restaurants. They phased in opening other types of businesses as well. We didn't in New Jersey. Why does that matter? Because our numbers are so much lower in South Jersey, much, much lower. So what the governor should have done is not say, well, you're the same as Hackensack or Hoboken or Jersey City, because we weren't. We weren't anywhere near it. Most of the deaths, over half of the deaths, came from a couple of governors stuffing in all these very sick people that had comorbidities and had problems into nursing homes. The people who were in the nursing homes got sick. The people who were put in the nursing homes got sick. It was the wrong thing to do. Now what we could have done and should have done is much earlier on for all the businesses that are around is say, look, now you can open 25%. You have to do A, B, and C. I remember that gym owner, and I know he was a little radical to some people, but he was saying, I will do whatever you want. If you want UV radiation, if you want a better system of air movement, if you want, just literally a person to follow somebody around when they're working out, to spray down and disinfect, I'll do whatever you want. The governor wouldn't go for it. He didn't do it. He wouldn't help the gyms in our area either. My gym happens to be in Northfield, and I was in Washington a lot, and I came back the other day, and I was talking to a friend of mine who goes to the same gym, and he said, how you doing? He said, where are you going now? Well, I do a lot of stuff at home, too. And he said, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to go back to, Island Gym where I always go. He said, no, you're not. You had to close. All his equipment's out. He had to close everything down. People worked there. People had jobs there. People got healthier there working out. The governor didn't look at that. We could have done that and not increased this disease one iota. I'm not saying you could have packed everybody in there, but we could have phased it in. We could have phased restaurants in. You know how many restaurants have closed, smaller ones? You know how many businesses have gotten hurt, especially smaller ones, just because he wouldn't work and wouldn't listen to us. I mean, I had to fight like crazy just to get the churches to have services outside. Now that's a First Amendment right. Whether you are religious or not, you recognize that somebody's faith and belief in God is just something that you don't take away. And we all have the ability to do outside. They're doing it outside now. Some are so big, some of the churches, they're doing it inside too. But they had to go all that time. And he wasn't trying to really work with them, and that was a shame. So New Jersey, quite frankly, in my opinion, didn't do it right. I know it's hard to do it right, but we could have done better. Most of all, because our numbers were so low, we could have phased in much earlier. Even Mario Cuomo in New York State, in Upper New York, opened up much before we did down here in South Jersey, and they had similar numbers.
We're just asking you a simple question, Bobby. I know it was important for you to be here today, and what, in your opinion, what makes Congressman Van Drew the best pick for Ocean City?
Well, then I could sit here for an hour and talk about that, but I won't. I'll try it and dull it down into three very simple things. One of which is from the Ocean City standpoint, as council president, working with you, Mike, as vice president, and the mayor. I mean, Jeff has been working with us day one since he's been in Congress and in the state Senate, but just in Congress alone. I've worked with him on getting grants to raise buildings for people that are in flood-prone areas. We've worked with him to get grants for our fire department, and we've worked with him to get grants for our affordable housing projects to take some of the brunt off of our city here. So those are the things that are important. But the key question to ask is this: why is he able to get those things done? And it might sound simple, but it really isn't. He's able to reach across the aisle. Yes, everybody knows that. But the 2nd Congressional District is one of the most complex districts in the country, in that it has some of the most wealthiest areas in the country and some of the most poor. And Jeff has developed relationships across local levels, state levels, county levels, and now federal levels. And you can't just build those things overnight. It takes years and years to do, and he's been able to do those things. And if somebody else were to come in there, forget about what their ideals are, we'll lose that. It takes years to build up relationships and be able to call somebody on the phone and express to them the complexities of our issues and really get them to understand. And that's what he's able to do very quickly because he lived it. He loves it. He cares about the people. And that's why it's so important for me. Whenever I call, whenever we call, it's right there. There's no question. He gets it done. And that's why it's so important.
Thank you, Bob.
So, Congressman Van Drew, could you take a minute for us and tell us what a Van Drew, South Jersey will continue to be like, it will be like in the future versus a Kennedy, South Jersey?
And I can't speak for Mrs. Kennedy, but I will speak for myself and talk, at least highlight what I think the differences are. So she generally is much more, and I say this in no derogatory way, but everything she's expressed during the primary, even to some degree afterward, much more left-wing and really lurched to the left much more than I have. She would believe in the open borders that we talked about, would believe in the sanctuary cities that we've spoken of, does support and is really close to the governor of this state, New Jersey, in many of the things that he's done here, which I don't think have been good for New Jersey and really have hurt New Jersey, whether it's increasing taxes or sending out live ballots, paper ballots, and not getting unemployment insurance done nearly as quickly for the people that were really in trouble and needed it. And I can go on and on. That would be more representative of a person that she would work with and thinks is doing a really good job, and I would disagree with that. Besides the sanctuary cities and besides all the other stuff, she believes in the Green New Deal. She's made it clear she would have voted for the bill that I just spoke of, where these dangerous, violent prisoners, and this is not an exaggeration, would be released. That's not the America I know, and it's not the South Jersey I know. So the South Jersey that I believe that she would represent would be a much more tumultuous one, with a lot of things going on that many people wouldn't feel comfortable with and wouldn't feel safe with. I'll just use an example. Look what's happened in New York City, or look what's happened in the Northwest, the Portland, when those types of philosophies have been put in place. Look how much hundreds and hundreds of percent the crime rate went up. I don't want to see the crime rate go up. I believe, and again, not to be mean-spirited, but I believe under Amy Kennedy, the crime rate is going to go up. I think these things are going to allow the crime rate to go up. That's something I don't want to see. South Jersey is known for being safe. It's known for being beautiful. It's known as being this bucolic, wonderful area where we can all live, kind of do our thing too, which is kind of neat, and not worry. And I think that would be a lot different under Amy Kennedy. I think taxes for, obviously the country would go way up and would affect South Jersey people. And I we always say, well, taxes are going to go up, but it's only going to be for the rich. But every time I talk to middle class people, wherever I am, whatever state, whatever town, somehow it seems to me it's always the middle class folks that are paying on their back, and they're breaking their back to try to make a living. I think they're going to get hurt. So I see a place where middle class people can thrive and do well and be safe and be proud of their country. And I think hers is going to be a very significant and different alternative to that. So I guess that's how I'd answer that.
For a minute, take us to the topic of mail-in ballots. How do you feel about this? Would you have been in favor of going to the polling place at this point in time? And, given the COVID and everything else that's going on.
This is a complicated issue, so I want to just take a couple of minutes on it. Voting by mail, if it was done in the way that we've always done it, which also used to be called absentee, which means that I make a request to the county clerk, they send me my ballot, they check off that I made the request, I fill it out, I send it back, they check off again that I sent it back, so that I can never vote twice. That's a good thing. I have no problem with vote by mail as we knew it. and I have no problem with absentee ballots as we know it. This is different. The governor is sending out millions of live ballots all across the state, some of which are duplicates, some of which are ballots that are actually issued to people who've passed away. Some of them are ballots where people live in other states, even other countries, and they're still getting a ballot here. That's unbelievable. I mean, I talk to people every day. I was on a radio show. The host was telling me of the radio show the other day that he and his wife and his daughter all got a ballot, except his daughter has lived in Pennsylvania for 3 years. What are we doing? Now, I worry about COVID too, and there was a way to deal with that it did not create chaos. Frankly, I think there's a lot of folks out there that do want to create chaos. We're not going to know all the results of all the elections as quickly as we would, and I think this is something they want to see, and that's really unfortunate, and again, bad for the United States of America. Here's what we should have done. On Monday, before Election Day, the alphabet, A to K, or whatever, should have gone and voted. So you'd have half the people voting on Monday, the other half of the people voting on Tuesday. Tuesday night, you'd have the election results done. And you'd have tons of social spacing. Everybody would wear a mask, and there'd be no problem at all. I mean, we're letting them go into the Walmart, where they don't have that social spacing. Quite frankly, we're having people demonstrate violent and non-violent, where they're not even close to having that social spacing, and that's okay. But voting wasn't. Even if we did it over 3 days, we could have done it that way. People want to vote directly, and it's better that they do vote directly, because you know what happens. You go in, you sign your name, they look at you, they give you the slip, they give the other person the slip, you go in, you press the button, they know that you did, it's legal, and you know it's legal. Now we've just got paper ballots just flitting around the whole state of New Jersey without any idea, because we've never cleaned up the voter rolls. The voter files have all these people on file, and it's going to be something we're going to really have to watch. Both sides, the Republicans and Democrats, are going to have a ton of lawyers looking at this.
So what are your recommendations for people going out, the voters right now? Is it to vote early? Is it to take it directly to one of the boxes? What is your recommendation?
Very specific. If you know for sure who you want to vote for already, vote early. Some people are still thinking about some things, so they have to vote a little later. But if you know who you're voting for, and most people do, by the way, it's an unusual election, vote early. Secondly, do not go to the polls and say, I want a ballot, I'm going to vote here at the polls. Because what you will get is not the same ballot that you normally would have. Okay, it's a ballot where it is counted after all the other ballots are counted. So it's not a regular ballot. So you don't want that. You don't want to go to the polls, and you don't want to get that ballot. What you want to do is take the ballot that you have at home, fill it out, sign it, seal it, put it in the envelope, and then go to one of the drop boxes, which is what we were talking about. So Ocean City, I believe, has one of its own, may have more than one. The council president would know. You go to the drop box, you're holding that ballot in your hand, you put it in that drop box, you know it got there. And in fact, if you really are a worrywart, like I am a little bit, you take the ballot and you go to the county clerk, and you give it to the county clerk, and you absolutely know it's there and it's going to be counted. I would not go to the polls to vote. It's just not a good thing to do in this particular case. It's a shame, because they're not going to let you use the machine. They are never going to let you use the machine.
So, in this interesting environment, we have a lot of new voters for the first time, the youth of America, youth of New Jersey in particular. What would you tell a young person who was voting for the first time and looking at New Jersey and seeing their future for the next 4 years? Why should they vote for you?
Well, first of all, I would tell them that they should truly get involved and be part of it, read about it, understanding how important it is. I would tell them that they should give me a chance, because I have always been someone who works, whether it's with young people, older people, every age, every category, every race, culture, and creed. As Bobby said, it never mattered to me. My district is so varied. I have some very poor people and some very wealthy people. I just want to help people. I want to help America. I would say to that young person, I would want that chance for them because I believe in this nation so much, and I want them to understand, even though they may be told in school and they may be told in their university that America is not a good place anymore, that America is a bad place, that America is a place where we shouldn't even honor those that came here before us. This is what I would tell that young person. America is a self-healing place. It is a place where even when we do have problems, we correct them. We make it better. We want to make it better. I would tell that young person that American people are really good people, and they are. They're good, decent people by and large. And I would tell that young person that I want to keep America in the worst way, and I don't want either him or her to give up on that America, but to continue to believe in it, and where he or she feels we're falling short, to help us make it better. And I would always be open to that.
Congressman, Council President, I want to thank you both for being here and joining with us today. Good luck in the remainder of the election.
Thank you.
And thank you for everything you've done for us to date, and all the best. Stay healthy.
It has been my honor. I love working with Ocean City, and we will continue to do that. And this is a great way to go about it. You know, having that conversation and that dialogue with the people of Ocean City and New Jersey and South Jersey, I enjoy very much, because I think when we understand each other more, we accomplish more.
Again, thank you. Thank you both.